I owe just about everything in my life to music. So I grew up kind of on the outskirts in North Carolina. Growing up, I always had like a bunch of hobbies, doing, sports and everything. I wasn't really good at anything. I was always trying to find something that was kind of my thing. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, I started like really gravitating towards music. I went to my aunt's house in the mountains for a couple weeks. She had a turntable and a bunch of records, and she kind of taught me how to use the turntable. And so I would go through them. I listened to every one of them. The first one that really jumped out to me was Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. I thought it was cool that my name was Dillon and his name was Dylan, and I loved, while the music was going, me looking at the record, reading the liner notes, figuring out who played on what, like, oh, this guy's also in that band and this guy produced that. So it was such more of an immersive experience for me as a kid. When I was a teenager, I'd just get the teenage angst. Just turn off all the lights in the room, crank the stereo, just laying down on the ground in my room. My dad with the broom downstairs, knocking it on the ceiling, like, turn it down. Me and my dad, like, one of the things that we would do to bond is we would go to yard sales and flea markets and stuff like that every week. I had a $5 a week allowance, and that's what I would spend on records. We didn't have MTV or anything like that growing up. There's a lot of stuff that my friends would listen to or it was popular at the time, but for whatever reason, it didn't grab me. My ear was focused towards serious guitar music, and just at that time, there just wasn't a whole lot of that. So my musical taste was shaped by the records I was finding and then what was on the radio. When I started collecting, it was just classic rock. Led Zeppelin, Leonard Skinner, Deep Purple. And then after I listen to stuff over and over again where I know every note of it, it's always really nice to find something new. When I told my mom I was going to try to get a turntable, we went to the thrift store and she picked this out for me. This is American Pie. It's funny because you have to play the first side and then it kind of fades out and you flip it to hear the rest of the song. So part 2 is on the second side. But I listen to this over and over again. This is my first record. So this is kind of the one that started it all. I've tried to sell my collection like 3 or 4 times and I'll always go back to it. For some reason, I just can't. It's such a part of me, I can't get rid of it. So in 2019, I got laid off from my job. I didn't have anything. I had $1,000 to my name, and that was the first time I sold my collection. I sold them basically to people in parking lots. As soon as I sold my collection, I had maybe like 40 records left. Just something, my heart sank. That was the only thing that it kind of hurt me to sell. So I kind of got this thing going where I was like, well, I'll buy a stack of records here, sell the ones I don't need, keep the ones I do need. I had been doing pop-ups, which we'd set up at a brewery or coffee shop, and then we would just have like a record store there for a day. I loved that because I was meeting people in the community. People were starting to bring me like trades and stuff. It was really cool. Opening a record store was kind of like a pipe dream, like maybe one day it would happen, but I had doubts that I could do it. My wife was just like, just do it. If you do it and you fail, you're back in this position that you're in right now, just do it. So I sold some of my more expensive guitars. I sold a bunch of my personal collection, and then I just put everything I had into it, and we're still open. Our store was named after my son, Noble. My wife was pregnant with my firstborn, and I was in the hospital, and we just had him, and I was holding him in my arms, and I was like, man, everything in my life I'm going to do for him. And I was like, well, then I'll just name it Noble Records.
What can I do for you?
Just looking.
Cool. How are you? Staying all right?
Yeah, how are you?
Used to see you at your pop-ups.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's been a while. I remember you. Oh, I remember. You brought some good, like, psych and prog and stuff like that. Glad to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Every time I buy a collection, I'm pulling in somebody else's taste, and I'm going through it and listening to it, and kind of, I can see why they like it, and you see love letters in there, pictures of people's kids. It's interesting to know, like, hey, I probably know parts about these people that their family doesn't even know, because I understand their brain through the records. My son will pull a record out and then he'll just like draw his interpretation of the artwork and then he'll stick it in there, and then I'll leave it for me to find later, which is always great. So I guess that's the American flag, and I've never seen that till just now. Anyways, he probably did this years ago, but he still does it. He'll just come in my room and pull one out and draw it and put it back in. So little Easter egg for me. I was really intimidated as a kid going into record stores because, you know, I'd go in and everybody there, I knew they knew a lot more than I did, and so I was scared to ask a stupid question. And I did ask some stupid questions, and they would laugh at me or whatever. One of my goals of the shop is being really approachable about stuff and open about stuff to where people don't, you know, they don't have to worry about asking a stupid question, which is, I think, a valuable thing. I had people in my life when I was younger, a couple older guys, they had collected records, knew a little bit more than me, and they would recommend something to me and it would just blow my mind. I loved that feeling. Right, you like this one, right? Zipper?
Zipper, yeah, that's one of your exclusives.
I like being that part of the process that introduces people to new music. It might not mean much, but it means a lot to me, and I think it does mean a lot to other people too, so. It's good, it's right up your alley. I think that people are realizing the value in tangible things again. There's so many kids that come in the shop and they're like, wow, this is so cool. This record's from 1969. They just like the feel of something in their hands like that's real. When me and my wife first met, we both kind of knew she was a little bit out of my league and it wasn't going to work. But we would play music together. We had little bands here and there. We would play at coffee shops and stuff. We recorded an album on my MacBook, you know. And so we had a lot of fun with it. Half a dozen times a day at least, she'll start playing the piano and the kids love it. And so now they're really getting to the place where they want to learn. I've always realized how special music is for people. This couple came in probably a year or two ago, and they were looking for a James Taylor, a Sweet Baby James, which is a great record. They were going to meet with one of their parents who was about to pass away. Their favorite album was this album, and they wanted to play it for him on vinyl, which is like, and we didn't have it. And I was so crushed that we didn't have it, because I was like, oh man, I would love to get this person this record. I said, give me 2 minutes. And I went in the back and I just started going through every box, and boom, there was one. It was in perfect shape. They were so appreciative, and it was such a common record, but to them it was a huge deal because of what they needed it for. So that's really special when that happens. I think for me, I really want for people to feel like they're cared about. There's no telling how many people I've connected through music. The music has probably drawn them in more than I have. But I'm glad to be a vessel for that. You get all of it. The new mix, these guys are from North Carolina. Really cool psych record. I'm still very much a collector. Like, I still have stuff I'm dying to have and I'm looking for, and I meet people and trade stuff, and that's just such a fun thing to me. I don't see that ever disappearing from my life. My advice to someone who's just starting out would be to just buy what records they want. Don't buy records because you think they're iconic or you think you should. Buy records that you really like. I am driving up to the mountains again. Got a collection up here, literally on the side of a mountain. Yeah, that's worth the trip right there.
We're going to Buggies!
What do you think? Should we buy them?
I think we should take them all.
Take them all.
Go.
My dream in the music world is just to be a nice guy and to be willing to give people information and knowledge and to contribute to their enjoyment of music, because that's what music's for, is just for people to enjoy. So